UFC 317 Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena is upcoming this Saturday. And guys, last card I didn't do too bright, but I have a really good feeling about this card. I looked through the card, I just started smiling. I'm like, brother, we're gonna make all the money, that's we kind of lost last week. Bro, not this weekend, the fights, man, they were so hard to call, but I'm very confident in a lot of these matchups. Real bad, man. You get me, bro. Chat, we're gonna put the beats on these predictions like Dr. Dre, chat. You know what I'm saying? I'm really feeling it. And honestly, this card's really stacked. When you're just going through this, scrolling through, look at the name value, man. And there's some underdogs, chat. They're they might be, Mr. Kenny underdog lock, and we don't miss those. Channel if I didn't count. Starting off with the opening, we're starting off with a banger, chat. Brad Katona versus Bexat. Now, why we all understand and kind of respect Bexat is that the one time we seen him really fight was Umar Nurmagomedov. And although Umar did 30-27 him and beat him damn near every round, he made Umar go through adversity in the first round. I think that's how they hype him up the most. Yeah, man, didn't you see what he did to Umar? He caught him a little bit. Bexat's actually looked pretty solid. Now, it's hard to take too much from that fight because he was losing, but he wasn't getting... Well, he was getting dominated, he was getting dominated, but it was more of I'm getting dominated, but brother, still respect me kind of thing, Umar had some controlling positions, but he'd buck when Umar was in full guard, he was just not letting Umar control him completely. Even at full mount, Umar would have it and then he would lose it because Bexat was just he was so urgent to get up. And Brad Katona is kind of like a marauder, dude. He's built like Lucas Tracy, he got the Lucas Tracy look going for him. He's going to rock forward, with these stupid clubbing hooks. He's going to be Lucas Tracy maxing, literally every way, shape, and form. But Bexat I feel like he'll be too fast in the hand speed. I think a hand speed will be a little bit more of an advantage for Bexat, as well as the defensive grappling from Bexat is going to be sound. I'm not going to be surprised if Brad Katona tries to mix it up because I feel like he might struggle on the feet and get a little bit nervous, but Bexat's going to stuff the takedowns pretty comfortably. I really want to see more Bexat, chat, because I think he's actually legit. So I can't wait to see this fight because I think Katona's a good marauder who's going to have a good chin, who's going to keep walking forward, who's going to take a beating. So it should be interesting, but I am going to go Bexat. I just feel like Bexat, from the little I've seen of him, I'm very impressed, and I feel like he's going to be a problem. This might be the Islam Arman Sarukian story, chat. He might just be really good, and he's going to show as he continues to fight. Just like Arman on his debut, we thought, that guy he gave Islam a hard fight, but we don't know how good Islam is. Islam's not one of the best. Umar's going to be one of the best. Bexat will be following soon closely, I think. So, yes, I have Bexat for the first fight of the night. Pretty comfortable in this pick. Okay, next up, we got Daniel Santos, who's all right. He's such a weird fighter when I watch him. I can't tell, he kind of reminds me of that Felipe dos Santos guy. Are they brothers? They have the same stupid-ass look going. All right, but Daniel Santos and Jong Yang Lee. He's a South Korean, brother. He probably watched K-drama. This guy probably a good guy, watch a little bit K-drama. This is an interesting matchup. For Lee, from what I've seen of him, he looks like a dynamic striker, but he's coming off a loss, if I'm not mistaken. I swear he's coming off an L. Whereas Daniel Santos is running a 2-3 fight win streak. So Santos is riding momentum. It's going to come down to how Lee approaches the fight. I think Santos will be okay with the primary striking fight. If there is going to be wrestling, it should be interesting. Lee doesn't shoot much takedowns from the looks of it, so it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches this fight against Daniel Santos, who's a pretty active fight. He's an active striker if he gets going, but if you disrupt Santos' rhythm early, brother, you never know. This guy not Charles, brother. Despite his look, this guy not this guy. So we're gonna have to see how this fight goes. But bro, Lee looks pretty shredded, man. South Koreans, man, people forget, dude. Fucking A, man. They're game, but I am gonna go against my Korean drama brother. Go Daniel Santos. I like K-drama brother. I can't like you, brother. This is my opinion on this situation. This fight's actually pretty solid. This is Marauder maxing, a Marauder maxing fight. We got Marc-Andre Barot. I never know how to say his last name, so don't judge me, chat. And then Bruno Silva. Both on the older side. Mark did not look good his last performance. He kind of looked a lot worse than I thought. Bruno Silva, same thing. They're both in situations they're coming off L's. Someone needs to prove something. Mark, you got to be able to beat Andre. I feel like you're gonna have to hit him hard. You're gonna have to rock him of some sort. Bruno Silva could take some damage. My only worry for Silva in this fight is he might get walked down. And he could take a beating. He'll come back with some. This is a close. This might be the closest fight on the prelims. If I get a fight wrong in the prelims, it might be this one because this one's really close, man. If Andre gets going, Marc-Andre, he's a problem in the strikes because he has high output. But Bruno Silva can mix in wrestling when needed too. Like, he can make it an interesting fight. What are the odds? Odds aren't even available. Man, this one's a hard one for me to choose, especially because both are coming off of L's. They don't really look the best right now. Both of them at their best. Who wins is like, why are you asking me, dude? Dude, I don't know. This is close, bro. I think Marc Andre's like output on the feet could be problematic. But can Bruno Silva hit Marc Andre hard enough for him to like kind of take a couple steps back and like reconsider? I don't know. That's the truth. I don't know. You know, my gut's telling me Marc Andre, but my mind's telling me Bruno Silva's probably gonna get it done. But you know, I'm gonna follow my gut this time because I don't want to overthink it. I think Marc Andre's output on the feet is gonna be a little bit too much for Bruno Silva. As long as Bruno Silva doesn't catch him with something pivotal, I think it's gonna be a Marc Andre. It's gonna be a win for the Canadian. So I'm going to Marc Andre, brother, probably by points because he's not gonna finish Bruno Silva. Navajo Sterling, you know, the light heavyweight Adesanya, brother. This guy fights exactly like Izzy said. He's just a lot more built and ripped and meant to be a light heavyweight. And then Ivan Ursin, who's actually, he was hyped up, I swear, and then he lost his last fight. I swear he was like hyped up to be some crazy marauder, and then he lost. Navajo Sterling he's 6-0. He's just as experienced as Bo Nickel, which is kind of interesting. You know, Bo Nickel was 7-0 when he got fraud checked. Navajo Sterling 6-0. It'll be a comfortable fight for Navajo Sterling. He just uses his range, like he uses his distance management really well. He uses his low kicks really well. He has a CKB style, and he has power behind that too. So I feel like that's the most. If you're a CKB style fighter and you have power to back it up, you start to become a dangerous person because now you're sticking, moving, and now they're getting frustrated. He's kind of like a Carlos Uber with a little bit more power, and he sits down in his punches a little bit more. He's not as movement heavy as a Carlos Uber. That's so weird that they're in the same weight class because they'll never fight each other because they literally train in the same place. But yeah, I think Navajo Sterling's going to get it done over Ivan Ursin. Odds are not available, but I just think Navajo Sterling's stick and move styles is going to be too problematic. I'm sure Ivan Ursin's going to shoot. He's going to try to wrestle, but brother, this is not as easy as you think. I got Navajo Sterling by points or KO for sure. Batowskis versus Cuta Laba, who looked great his last fight, you know. Yo, this one's good, you know. Okay. Batowskis, man. Batowskis, yeah, man. This guy's a future Tom Aspinall, you know. I don't know, man. This matchup's going to be interesting. Honestly, if Cuta Laba didn't look how he looked in his last performance, I'd probably have an easy time picking this fight. But it's just the fact that I know how Cuta Laba looked in his last performance. I'm actually surprised to see Cuta Laba as a slight favorite. That's a little bit interesting, you know. I don't know why. I mean, I guess I know why because the last performance, you know. The thing is, if Batowskis might have the advantage on the feet, right? But Cuta Laba, he's aggressive. He knows how to wrestle, brother. You know, he's improving his wrestling and grappling. Ooh, it's gonna be interesting. But what if that was just like a lucky night in the office for Cuta Laba and he just shows up like old kind of mid Cuta Laba? Nah, Cuta Laba looks good, dude. I don't know. This is an interesting matchup. I want to see how he kind of tries to overcome like the height of Batowskis, try to close the distance maybe. It'll be interesting to see that aspect of the fight. But overall, like, who do I have? I gotta lean Cuta Laba. I gotta lean Ink's son, bro. Is it close though? This one, some of these fights are kind of close, but it's close. But I'm gonna lean Cuta Laba just because like his last performance, he showed some impressive grappling, and I'm very impressed in the way he looked in his grappling. And his striking is always gonna be sporadic and kind of goofy, but I feel like if that sporadic style of striking could get him close enough to Batowskis where he could shoot and wrestle. So I'm gonna go Cuta Laba. I feel like when the striking is kind of similar, you gotta lean the guy with a little bit of wrestling. You know, this fight is interesting because Jessica Andra looked really bad against Natalia Silva her last fight. And then Jasmine you know, Canadian been running a great win streak right now. She looked good. And I've doubted her a couple times, you know. You know, her takedown defense looks improved. You know, I know Jessica Andrade's going to be wrestling for her life, but her wrestling was kind of nothing against Natalia Silva. Just based off last performances, I can't go Jessica Andrade here. I just cannot. It's not going to make me feel, you know, good with myself, you know. Jasmine's going to feel the home crowd love. She's going to go in there, put the beats on Jessica Andrade like Dr. Dre. The volume on the feet, the volume difference is probably going to be significant. I think Jasmine's going to outland it on the feet, and I feel like Jessica Andrade's going to be shooting for the fences. And I don't think she's strong enough to get Jasmine down anymore. She's like, Jessica Andrade's kind of slowing down in her career now. She's starting to get a little bit like telegraphed and predictable. That being said, I am going to lean Jasmine Juzadavigius by points. Dale, brother, dale. Speaking of the Canadian flow. Yep, just listen, not load. Okay, it's loading. Mike Malot and Carlos Ratic. This is so weird, man, because Mike Malot, like, I know the Neil Magny fraud check happened, but he beat Trevor Gillis his last fight. You know, and he looked decent. He didn't look all that great. I feel like Neil Magny kind of took a lot of ore from Mike Malott. And then Charles Ratic, he's coming off a win where he looked actually pretty good. He's like a first round heavy fighter. But he's a marauder, you know, he's a marauder. And I feel like what broke Mike Malott overall was he fatigued against Neil Magny and got outworked and got marauder maxed, you know. Like, if he goes too hard against Charles is going to end up, like, weighing on him. Charles doesn't have the best cardio, but Charles is like he's like a marauder-esque fighter where he's going to take a lot of shots and come forward. That can be problematic for a Mike Malott fight style, in my opinion. So, you know, it'll be interesting, man. It'll be interesting to see how Mike Malott looks. He did, like I said, I think this is a step up from Trevor, his last fight. So we're going to have to see how Mike Malott looks. I think I'm going to actually lean Mike Malott, just home crowd. You know, he's not going to disappoint his home crowd for a second time. Surely not, bro. Surely not. And then, like, the grappling of Charles Ratic is not anything to be concerned about, in my opinion, brother. You know, he might shoot a little bit. He might be physically stronger than Malott, but I hope Malott has worked on the takedown defense. I am going to go Mike Malott for this welterweight bout. I just have the gut feeling. This fight fell apart. Damn it, you know. Oh, man, I can't be asked. This was going to be fun, you know. Alvarez was going to win, but I'm pretty sure this fight fell apart. They're looking for replacements. I just don't know who's going to step up, but Alvarez would have won that fight. Alexa Grasso versus Natalia Silva. You know what's funny about this, guys? Grasso's the underdog. And I know Silva's been looking good lately. She looked great against Jessica Andrade. She's not going to be Grasso. Sometimes women odds don't make sense. You know, this actually might be a card to, you know, pick some woman fights and go hard on it, man. Put some bans on women, man. Grasso's the underdog, correct? Yeah, bruh. You know, I think this is fake. There's no way it's -2. Yeah, surely not. Surely not. Grasso did look lackluster against Valentina. I just think Valentina is a lot more sharp in her counter strikes than Natalia Silva. Valentina also has that wrestling threat. I feel like Grasso, when she wants to bite down her mouthpiece and make it an ugly boxing match, she could outwork Natalia Silva there. You know, Silva's not. She doesn't have the same. I mean, she does have a pretty good work rate as well, but I just think Grasso's she's going to be too much for her on the feet. And then if it does go in the ground, I do favor the BJJ and grappling of Grasso. It's going to be an interesting fight. I do not agree with the odds. I'll be lying if I said I agree with these odds. I'm going to go Alexa Grasso. I think people are underestimating how good Valentina Shevchenko is. And just because she beat the hell out of Grasso pretty comfortably doesn't mean Natalia Silva can. She doesn't have the height, the reach, and the length of Valentina. Like, Grasso's not tall either, but she's going to have an inch over Natalia Silva. So it's just, I just can't be bothered about Natalia Silva being a big favorite against Alexa Grasso, who's just coming off a championship fight. You know, keep playing, odds makers. You're making me money, brother. Come, brother. Keep playing, brother. I like this. I like real bad, man. Number 1 against number 5, and just despicable odds. Jose Aldo versus Ariel Helwani. Now, see, chat, the thing about this one is that I know Ariel's going to come in there with some vengeance, man. Dude, this matchup, I actually don't know what to say. I feel like Ariel Helwani should lose. I feel like Jose Aldo should get the better of him with the low kicks, but I don't know how Aldo's going to show up. I just don't know, you know? And is Ariel going to probably grapple? You know, he doesn't grapple much. I could see him trying to, like, clinch Mario Batista Max. Aldo has great takedown defense, so he doesn't really have to worry about getting taken down, but I hated how complacent Aldo was against Mario Batista against the fence. It just didn't make sense. He was way too complacent. Way too complacent. But, you know, Ariel's going to be the home crowd guy. He is from Canada. I still think Jose Aldo's going to get a bigger pop and more reception, unironically, but it should be an interesting fight. My gut wants to lean Aldo, you know, so I'm just going to follow my gut. My brain's also, for some reason, telling me Helwani, but I'm going to go Aldo here. He is the big favorite, but, you know, it's just like you never know with the old men maxers, you know. I don't know, dog. I'm going to go Jose Aldo, though. I'm going to go Jose Aldo in this fight. We'll see how Sahabi comes out, though. Now, this one is my Weili Soares moment, except I'm less confident. I understand she's the underdog. When Weili was the underdog against Soares, I started laughing. I threw like, oh, that's the most I ever threw on a woman in a fight because I knew Weili was going to cook Soares. This one, Mannon is not a bad striker, chat. Her striking is a really good weapon. She's pretty decently tall. She's 5'7", you know, a little bit taller than Valentina. She's probably going to, on paper, have the striking advantage. People are underestimating Valentina's quick counter-punching ability. Like, Valentina she got to just worry about low kicks, but Mannon is a lot, like, she's a big punching fighter. She's more punch-oriented first than she is like, oh, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to, you know, kickbox with you. Valentina's the better kickboxer out of the two, you know? So it should be interesting to see how that fight plays out. But I feel as if it's a primary boxing match on the feet, I still think Valentina's counter-punching and her punches and bunches are going to favor her in this fight. This is my honest opinion. I just think the power not the power necessarily, but the volume and the quickness of Valentina's counterpunching is going to do her well against Mannon, who sometimes just throws that jab. Mannon's jab is really good. I'll give the Frenchie some credit. Her jab is like, she has a really good jab. She was stick constantly, but I just think the overall diversity in strikes, that's going to favor Valentina. And I think if it does go to the ground, there's some scrambles, Valentina will get the best of it. Trust me, you don't want to be on the ground with Valentina. If she gets into side control and puts you in a fucking crucifix position, you just don't want to be there with Valentina. And I just feel like she's more well-rounded. And I think the odds are despicable, disgusting, repulsive. These odds don't make sense. Listen, bro. Listen, I understand WMA, like, they just want to hype up these new people. But this old-looking woman, bro, she's probably like in her low 30s, but she looks like that, bro. I can't be asked. Valentina's gonna go in there. She's gonna put the Champions Masterclass on her. Disgusting odds. Mannon's gonna look good probably for one round of the fight. Maybe not even one round of the fight. She might just get destroyed the whole way through. Now we're in the main event of the evening. Look at the flag behind me as my camera panned out. Palestine, remember the name Muhammad. Listen, guys. This fight is like comically one-sided. This fight makes no sense. This fight is just ironic. This fight is the easiest fight I would give Belal Muhammad. If you guys remember, when Leon Edwards was booked against JDM, I was telling you guys, like, Leon Edwards is going to cook this guy. It's going to be the easiest fight for Leon Edwards. Not easiest fight, but I was like, Leon Edwards stylistically is just going to be too much for JDM. I was saying all this stuff, right? The fight gets changed. Sean Brady gets swapped out for JDM, and JDM gets the title. And then I was like, chat, Leon Edwards just ruined his life because now he's not going to win. So, because I knew what that fight was. And then Belal gets a cookie in Jack Della Maddalena when it's supposed to be Shavkat, who stylistically would have been obviously harder for Belal. But he's getting a cookie in Jack Della Maddalena. Now, Jack Della Maddalena is a good boxer. Okay? He's a good boxer primarily when he's the one pressing forward and moving people back. Now, I don't know if you guys are new to watching UFC. If you were new, you'd probably be like, yeah, Belal always moves back. Belal's always running away. Belal's not the guy to be sitting there and throwing stuff. Belal's scared. Yeah, not really true at all. Like JDM, I almost choked. JDM, I'm glad he's good at, like, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to back people up, I'm going to throw multiple combos. If he has you against the fence, he's going to unload on you. If you're Kevin Holland just trying to shoulder roll and he's just pressing you backwards with combos, yeah, he'll give you a hard time. However, I just can't get behind the whole JDM has puncher's chance. JDM's going to catch him. JDM, his best work coming forward kind of equates to him having like his best chance coming forward, but he's not going to be able to just walk down Belal. He's going to be the guy getting walked down. Now, people always say puncher's chance. He's going to catch Belal, knock him out. Well, to catch Belal, he's going to have to be a pretty decent counter puncher, but he's not. I would actually argue Leon Edwards is a better counter puncher off his back foot than JDM, because when Leon's backing up, he still can sit down in the elbow. You can see in the Sean Brady fight, or even the Belal fight, he can sit down in some counters. JDM doesn't have great counter punching. He doesn't like slip and rip. He's not Conor McGregor. Oh, back, right hand. He doesn't fight like that. So him not being that great of a counter puncher off the back foot is not this like the puncher's chance that people are trying to like push at me and throw at me. Like, Kenny, still it's possible. Bedtime gets in there. What do it do, Bedtime crew? Hey man, listen. Today JDM's gonna be. You guys just don't. I know you guys don't believe it. Like, look at me when I'm talking to you, brother. You guys don't believe JDM has a fighting chance. So why are you trying to delude yourself, brother? Why are you trying to like gaslight your community, your fans, brother? What's up, brother? Be careful, brother. You guys don't believe what you're saying, and I know you don't believe what you're saying, and you don't believe what you're saying. You're gonna watch this fight, and you're gonna know the result, and then after the result happens, you're gonna be like, oh well, I knew that was gonna happen. So don't beforehand act like, oh, I think JDM has a chance because you're hoping and praying for a fluke. Oh, JDM's going to catch him in a punch coming in. Knowing damn well JDM's counter-punching ability is not what you think it is. Belal's going to outstrike him on the feet. He's going to break him with pressure. He's going to take him down. He's going to tickle his feet. He's going to like kiss him on the top of his head. He's going to stroke his shoulders. He's going to do whatever he wants. If Belal Muhammad wakes up that day and says, I want to knock him out, he'll knock him out. If he says, I want to wrestle him, he'll wrestle him. If he says, I want to submit him, I'll see you face crank him and make him tap. Belal might make him verbally tap. People always bring up the Gilbert Burns fight. Yeah, but Kenny, Gilbert Burns was mauling him for 2 rounds and Gilbert Burns got caught. If you actually watch that fight, Gilbert Burns was tired. And if you saw when the finish happened, Gilbert Burns was just laying on JDM, fatigued. He was tired, just trying to get control. Wasn't trying to work, wasn't trying to land anything. He was just sitting there. What JDM was like, wait, why is this guy laying on me with nothing? He's not using heavy hips, none of that. So JDM saw the cage next to him, forced a scramble, then caught him with the knee coming in because Gilbert Burns was so tired again. He just tried to panic shoot and he panic shot into a knee. That being said, you guys trying to say, oh, I think Belal is going to be up and get caught. So that means you're banking on Belal being up, then fatiguing and being tired, and then telegraphing something, getting reversed, out scrambled, then telegraphing a takedown and getting knocked out. If you think for a second Belal Muhammad would get tired, especially to the degree of Gilbert Burns, who's just not known for having great cardio, you've lost your mind. There's no chance on planet Earth that JDM can beat Belal Muhammad. Belal's not going to tire. Belal's going to outstrike him on the feet. Belal's going to out-wrestle him. Belal's going to beat him in every way, shape, or form. And you know this as much as I do. So don't try to come on my channel and post comments saying I think JDM has a chance when you know he doesn't have a chance. Belal's going to beat him so badly that I think they might delete the footage. I think they might scrub it. You know, they're going to find a way to make sure we can't watch this fight again because it's going to be such a one-sided fight. The crowd's probably going to boo sometimes when they see, you know, JDM on the floor, you know, looking up, begging for mercy, like, Belal, please, I want to go home to my family, bro. Can you not beat me up anymore? You know, I think Belal does what he wants. You know, this is not even exaggeration. Some people think I get on here and exaggerate. You know, I have no doubt that Belal wins this fight. And I know you don't have any doubt either. Even if you're a JDM fan, if you're from Australia or even New Zealand rooting for JDM, you're going to try to like gaslight yourself like he has a chance, like he could hit him with a punch and land. But everyone who picks people with puncher's chance, how's your year been going in 2025? I bet you picked Pereira, right? Probably picked Emmett, right? Probably pick Diego Lopez, right? How's your year going picking the people with puncher's chance, you know? I'm sure you're going to pick JDM because he's just different than all these other guys, right? Yeah, good luck with that prediction. Good luck with JDM, who's going to need to become the best counter striker in UFC history to even have a fighting chance against Belal Muhammad, you know? JDM's just not on the same level, not on the same frequency or stratosphere, you know? This is an undeserved title shot, you know, because Shavkat Rakhmonov got hurt. You know, Usman would have been a better fill for her. Buckley would have been a better fill. You know, this is the easiest fight for Belal, and I know Belal's somewhere like getting giddy every single time he looks at the opposition he's going against. You know, Belal only has 3 losses in his life, you know, and then this guy has 2, but it's going to be 3. You know, after the night, I have no, like, I'm not worried. Like, usually main events, I'm a little bit interested. Oh, maybe this could happen. You know, this is like I'm just too confident. This is the easiest pick of all time. Like, if I had to tell you guys, well, maybe not as easy as Ankle Eye Pereira because I just knew what was going to happen there. But as far as like my easiest picks and like picks I know are going to happen, this is definitely top 3. You know, JDM has no chance. And JDM, it's just like, doesn't make sense, does it? Like, he's just going to get out muscled in every way, shape, or form. I'll probably do an actual, like, an even deeper breakdown this week just so people know that this guy is a fool and he's not going to have a chance against him. But we're going to have to wait for that. Listen, bro, it's going to be Belal Muhammad masterclass. And listen, bedtime, brother. You know, I hope I get to debate you this week before the fights, brother, so I could just make you cry, you know, and make you know what's going to happen, brother. Be careful, brother. Don't duck, brother. Don't duck now, brother. I'm coming. But let me know what you guys think about this down below. Belal Muhammad is going to destroy JDM. We all know this, so who cares? I can say it as much times as I want. You already know this. But that's it for me, and God bless. 2, 3.